This is 4 Minutes 4, What We Do in the Shadows, Season 1. Ready? At this point, you're probably at least somewhat familiar with Taika Waititi, whether it was in his total reconstruction of Thor and his world in Thor Ragnarok, or his latest film Jojo Rabbit. However, for this episode I'll be focusing on one of his older projects, What We Do in the Shadows, more specifically the Hulu series extension that just came out recently. And not to take any credit away from Jermaine Clement, who is the main artist at the helm in this project. I'm gonna go into spoilers for this review, but I do encourage you to watch the movie and the show. So to give a brief overview if you really want to get in and out of this video, here's the gist. The premise of What We Do is fairly simple, a mockumentary-style look into the lives of modern-day vampires. It's a lot of fish-out-of-water humor, a lot of very understated humor like you would find in something like The Office or other works from Waititi, and usually revolves around plots that take very high stakes and makes them very grounded and silly. This is true of both the original movie and the series, so if all that sounds good to you, go check it out. Now let's get into specifics. For this series we focus on 3 vampires, Nandor, Naja, and Laszlo, as well as Nandor's human familiar, Guillermo. Now, I didn't have time to rewatch the original movie, but I think I like this group of protagonists a little more. I feel like everyone is more individually defined. From what I can remember of what the original What We Do, Viago and Peter were always the ones that stuck out to me, and the other two just kind of melded together. But the vampire crew of this show is great, with Nandor kind of being the Viago of this group, bossy, uptight head of the house but with a ludicrous accent, and Laszlo and Naja as an eternal couple who are both just kind of weirdos, with Laszlo's fancy party boy vibe and Naja's whole Gregor backstory. Okay, I totally forgot up until this moment that there is a 4th vampire of the group, which, come to think of it, is completely in line with his character. Colin Robinson is the 4th vampire. He's extremely modern and is an energy vampire. Basically, he bores people with rambling, awful stories and facts so much that he drains their energy to feed instead of sucking blood. I love this character concept because I've known so many people who feel like that, and I'm sure everyone has. The only side character who gets a bunch of time is Guillermo, and for the most part I like him and his performance, but I really like when they start diving into his lineage when he finds out that he's part of the Van Helsing vampire hunter bloodline. The characters are all pretty well defined, but they wouldn't be anything unless they had something to work with. This is where the plots of the episodes come in, so how are they? Well, I'd say overall pretty good. A couple forgettable episodes, maybe 1 or 2 standouts. The season is structured a little oddly, with probably the biggest plot thread set up in the beginning completely resolved by episode 7 out of 10. At the beginning of the show, the house is visited by the Baron, who is expecting these guys to basically rule the new world. The following episodes has them trying and failing to extend their power, whether it's through civil disputes or botched alliances with other supernatural forces. Episode 6 has Guillermo kill the Baron, and episode 7 has the group go to trial. Consequently, this is the best episode of the whole season, since a bunch of guest actors make appearances from their vampire roles from things like True Blood, From Dusk Till Dawn, Buffy, and Blade. After that episode though, the show basically meagerly ties up a few plot threads and sets up intrigue for a second season. Really, the highlights of the show are those strong characters and what they get to do. Nandor is consistently very silly and has great interactions with Guillermo and the other vampires and basically everyone. He's just a bizarre, great character. Laszlo is probably my least favorite, but his personality is defined enough from the others to still make him fun, and he has some pretty funny stuff going on, like his gardening. I know that sounds innocuous enough, but I'm not gonna get too far into it, it's weird. Naja has some really great solo stuff going on, like her reincarnated lover Gregor, and Colin is just great to stick into situations and completely aggravate everyone involved. You don't really have to watch the movie first to watch the show, but it does enhance the experience. I'd give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. And done.